bit of a tribute to Phil Kirk, have a throw forward to the Crewe game, talk about the transfer window, what Chesterfield business they've done, and also look forward to the Walsall game on Saturday as well. But Liam, you okay?
Yeah, Morgan, thank you. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you, mate. Not too bad. Yeah, so obviously Saturday's game against Crawley, it was all sort of hyped up a little bit. We had the sad news of the death of Phil Kirk, and it's not something that we weren't expecting. Of course, we did know that he did have terminal cancer, didn't we? When we heard the news in sort of March time, but he was going to try and fight it. And obviously, that's not the case. Sadly, cancer is the winner in that situation, and I'm sure that he fought it as bravely as he could as well. But in the short time really that we known him, what a presence he made on the football club. We were there when he first introduced himself at the shareholders meeting when Phil and Ashley stood up, didn't they, at that time and says, that they're going to look after the club, and they were glad that their wives weren't there make the decision to start throwing money into Chesterfield as well. But from then on, we didn't get any interviews on that night time, but when we got interviews, we got special times, and we got some good stuff from them, didn't we, as well? Because Phil was a real larger than life character with that. He'd give you absolute gold, wouldn't he?
It's incredibly sad news. He was a real genuine bloke, wasn't he? He was very humble. You would never know that he had the wealth that he had, the way that he acted. Such a wonderful man. He's going to be a big loss to the football community and to Chesterfield. Um, he, I, we didn't get to interview him lots of times,
No.
but because he wasn't sort of at the club every day. But when we did, he was very honest. He always used
Yeah.
to shake your hand, had a smile on his face. He'd look you in the eye. He'd give you plenty of time. He'd answer plenty of questions throughout the evening at fans forums and then different medias. And even if you were the last to go, he would still sit down and give you 10 or 15 minutes. And he was very polite. I always just remember when we interviewed Phil and Ashley together, they always had this sort of giddiness about them.
Yeah.
They were very serious about uh, Chesterfield and business, but they just wanted to have fun, and they were having so much fun. There was just this giddiness and this buzz that they both got, which was just amazing to see. Yeah, and when Phil stood up, didn't he, and introduced himself and said, "Look me up. There's no skeletons."
Yeah.
And obviously the fan base have saved this club, twice in the last sort of 20 years, and people will have gone home and they will have had a Google and had a quick search, and they'll have the first thing that comes up is Phil's name on the Financial Times, and I think from that point onwards, you sort of knew that it was the real deal.
Yeah.
And he was true to his word. He said the only thing that he wished to do, him and Ashley, was to do good for the club, and they've done exactly that. And his legacy will live on, won't it? His vision was to get this club into League One and even into the Championship if possible, and throw some daft money at it is what he used to say. So yeah, if Chesterfield can go on and win promotion, this season, maybe next season, and what a in his honour, what a memory
Yeah.
that would be. But it'll be greatly missed, but it'll never be forgotten.
No, that's a lovely way to look at things, isn't it? Yeah, he just seemed to have a little twinkle in his eye when he was. I remember doing an interview with both him and Ash. Ash would look at Phil, and Phil would look at Ash as well, and that they both had a sort of twinkle, and you know that they meant it from a good place, didn't they? So
Mm.
both from Chesterfield's point of view, so the all they ever wanted to do, I guess, and they'll continue to do that as well. The Kirk family will.
Mm.
All they want to do is bring the good times and make Chesterfield the sort of place for people to go and enjoy themselves for an hour and a half, on a Saturday afternoon. And they've certainly done that. And they've got the right manager in Paul Cook. They've taken over from the right people as well.
Mm.
It's been passed from fans to fans, and the trust will always be there, and it's great. And at the moment, there's such a feel good factor. That's what makes it incredibly sad that Phil's not going to be there to sort of see that sort of legacy and what he's going to do going forward. Because there's such good plans for the club, isn't there? And it's a shame, but hopefully Chesterfield can go in the right direction with his sort of blessing and going forward. And I really hope that I'm absolutely 100% certain the club have done him in justice as well. The Memorial Garden
Mm.
looks a picture, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just on the field as well as it's been. Um, you can just tell by what they've done off the field as well in terms of the good intentions that they've had with the training ground, stadium improvements, the community trust, hospitality, just everything is just so much better. It's unrecognizable from the club that I first started reporting on and off the field.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and Ashley will just hopefully be able to continue that good work in his brother's memory now, won't they?
yeah. And it'll be emotional for him, won't it? For a long period of time, we've both got brothers, haven't we? So we don't know how it is when you lose one, do you? So like it's not something we really want to experience, really. But the closeness that they probably had, so. And Ashley's the one to try and take it forward, along with his family as well.
A lovely photo that Ashley uploaded as well to Twitter of him and Phil
That
walking
was
down
lovely.
Brampton with the
Mm.
trophy. And of course, we were in the lounges, weren't we, when they won promotion? And if you could bottle that feeling, wow, you'd feel like a millionaire for the rest of your life. Um, they just everyone was just so happy, and there were special times, but they'll look back on those even more so now because thank God that they were able to have those times together before this happened.
Yeah, indeed. That's yeah, and I'm sure the club will remember Phil in their own way going forward as well, whatever tribute they want to do. And certainly Saturday, Liam, was a very emotional day, and the club were impeccable in observing the celebration of Phil's life, I suppose, in a little way, wasn't there? So it was apart from the first half performance, I understand, was one of the worst ones I'd ever encountered.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, before the game, before kickoff, the two captains laid Reeves in the centre circle, and there was a minute's applause, which was met by uh, Phil Kirk's name being sung, and his photo was shown on the big screen. If looking at the football, yeah, the first half was was tough. It was two soft goals conceded again. The first one's just a long ball forward, isn't it? Bit of indecision, if you like, between Carl McFadzean and Zach Hem. I'm not sure if they were both to blame or they're taking sort of 50-50 each on that. It was a good finish, to be fair, from a tight angle. And then the penalty, you can sort of see why he's giving it. I think, but maybe from the ref's angle, it looks like a barge in the back, and yeah, you could probably see why, but at the same time, you could also argue maybe not. Um, but to be fair to Crawley, so I think they're the best team that we've played so far. They actually came to Chesterfield and tried to win. They set up to win the game, like even late on when it was 2-2, and you would have just thought that they've been pegged back. A point would have been a good result for them. They were going for the win, and they could have won it. Chesterfield could have won it. It was really end to end. It was like a basketball game at the end. It was absolutely breathless. So yeah, really good team, Crawley. I don't think they'll be down there for much longer. I think they'll get going and they'll start shifting up the table. And with regards to Chesterfield, good spirited fight back. They really needed that in the second half. Couple of goals in 2 minutes, and you really fancied them to go on and win the game. But they just sort of lost their way a little bit, I'd say, in the last 10 minutes. And when they started to, probably the emotion took over, and they did go a little bit gung ho. And that's where Crawley started to also think that they could win it. So probably a fair result in the end, give or take. But couple of really good goals, different goals from a Chesterfield point of view. An individual bit of class from Dylan Duffy. A goal out of nothing really, just a throw in from Monte Daly Campbell, and Dylan Duffy managed to just get half a yard at sort of edge of the box, 20 yards out, and it was a fantastic finish that lifted everyone. And then a nice team goal for the second goal, finished off for Dobra for his third goal of the season. They had chances. Lee Bonus was stretching to a Gordon cross. I think Bonus also headed over. And there were other little bits, but they just lost their way a little bit towards the end. But fair play to Crawley, really entertaining game, and I don't think they'll be down there. But it was sort of fitting that Chesterfield scored their goals on 56 minutes and 58, and then there was the applause for Phil Kirk on 59. You sort of did make you sort of sit in your seat and think, was that meant to be? Was that Phil's doing? You couldn't help but wonder. That was really nice way that Chesterfield scored those two goals just before the tribute. It was one of those where you'd say you definitely would have taken a point at half time, and probably a fair result in the end.
I was I was covering Doncaster against Rotherham, and I was speaking to Lee Turnbull before, and he said that because he's good friends with Andy Crosby, who's a Tranmere manager, and they'd played Crawley the other week, and he said that Crawley absolutely battered them, absolutely battered Tranmere, and Tranmere have had a good start to the campaign as well. So following on from what you've just said there, because I've only watched the highlights a little bit. But they did look gung ho, didn't they? They did look aside that look, we've got at some point we've got to start winning here. They're towards the bottom of the table. They've got good players who just haven't quite gelled as a team. And certainly Harry McCurdy stood out, didn't he, as well? He looks an annoying type of player from an opposition point of view. I guess if he's on your side, you're right with him, aren't you? But he looks like one of those players that everybody loves to hate.
It's probably worth mentioning, actually. I don't like say if you've only seen the highlights, that he actually thought for a split second that he'd got his hat trick and that Crawley were 3-0 up in the second half with this little cheeky flick that he did from a cross, and it was flagged offside. And I've looked at it quite a few times, and I'm not sure it was
right.
Like it's not. It's very close, and there's no appeals from a Chesterfield point of view. Shea Dunkley I think he sort of sits on the turf and puts his head in his hands because he sort of thinks he's lost his man. And then the flag goes up, and McCurdy runs over to the linesman and he's waving his finger at him as if to say he's got that wrong. But I've stopped it to try and get a still image a few times, and obviously it is only that camera angle and it can be deceiving sometimes. But he might not have been. It was certainly very tight. I'd like to see it at a couple of different angles. Maybe it was. But that was quite pivotal in the game because I think at 3-0, that would have been a real killer blow in the opening minutes of the second half. And then before you know it, Chesterfield are back level, 2-2. I don't think there was any mention of that offside from Scott Lindsay. So I don't know whether maybe he's seen an angle of it and accepted that it was. But it was certainly close from the highlights on YouTube. So it could have been, a very different afternoon had that been given. Yeah,
it would have been a real sort of, to come back from 3 down is a very tough ask, isn't it, to do that? That would have been tough. And in his post-match reaction, he was very angry, wasn't he, Scott Lindsay? We didn't get any post-match reaction from Chesterfield, which was partially understandable. I'm sure we would have liked to have chatted about the game. I'm sure we would have focused on the game only, and but I'm guessing that they weren't particularly happy with an offside decision later on in the game and all the sort of emotion from that. So they didn't refuse any media requests there. I think the in-house radio got an interview with Will Grigg. I think they snuck that one
Mhm.
in, but any external media didn't get anything at all. But Scott Lindsay spoke to Crawley and BBC Radio Sussex as well, and he wasn't happy a bunny, was he, about his side's defending?
No, he was quite very bold in his summary, wasn't he? He called them unprofessional, weak-minded. I think it's sort of I think they've got quite a young team, and I think he has spoken in previous weeks about them needing some experience. I don't know whether that was a bit of a
Mm.
one last message to the board, maybe to see if they could get some experience on deadline day. But yeah, he certainly didn't hold back in his assessment because in his mind he said that a point would have been a good result beforehand, but on the basis of that first half, they should have just seen it out because he was saying how they'd focused on in training defending Chesterfield's crosses in particular, in how Chesterfield do like to cut the ball back often and fizz the ball in low, and that is obviously what happened for the second goal. So he
Mm.
was particularly unhappy about that. But just on the late offside decision for Crawley for the 1-on-1, I mean, he looked absolutely miles offside. It was Dixon. He's absolutely rapid. But fair play. There is a Chesterfield fan who's done a still of it, and he's onside. He's played onside by Liam Mandeville, and everyone was going absolutely ballistic in the ground, and you could see why because the kid was absolutely rapid, and he was about by the time you sort of looked up and saw it, it was about 10 yards in front of Liam Mandeville. So you can see why at the time everyone thought it was, but it was actually a still, and he is onside. So it's actually a fantastic decision by the linesman. But yeah, fair play to Zach Hemming because, like I say, he didn't really cover himself in glory for the first goal, but he stood tall and made Dixon make a decision rather than make it for him. He stood tall. He didn't go down. Managed to get a hand on it. And also, credit must go to Lewis Gordon, who didn't give up the fight and managed to get a bit of a foot in to clear the danger. Otherwise, Dixon would have just finished the rebound. So yeah, it was very dramatic ending. Like I say, it was a bit like a basketball game. It was absolutely breathless. But yeah, it was a dramatic afternoon on and what was a very emotional day.
Yeah, you segued quite nicely in towards what Crawley wanted with the transfer window. From Chesterfield's point of view, there's been a lot of talk of Ben Ward from Accrington. They made an early bid for him, didn't they, to try and get their business done pretty clear. They signed Malik Olabi Belewu, so he won't be coming till January, though. So I don't know how much they targeted a centre half in this market going forward, other than Ward. But it seems like they've missed out there if they did go for one. Having said that, they've done the right thing in because Gunnar Elliott's going to be out for 3 months or so, possibly 2 to 3 months. And they've signed a striker who can act as a third option for
Mm.
them as well. So, which is perhaps a good thing, a bit of cover for them going forward. So, but how close were they really to getting a centre half? What, have you
Well,
heard anything?
Paul Cook said before Harrogate
Yeah,
that he said it's obvious where we need to strengthen. So they were certainly looking. But I said last night, if the options aren't better than what you've got or they're
yeah.
not affordable, then Paul Cook's not someone just to sign someone for the sake of it because he hates having too many players, and he hates having players who he can't play. Like he really does want that sort of quality over quantity. This season. Um, so yeah, like I say that they have got a centre half coming in January. They have still got Cal McFadden and Jamie Grimes fighting for that left-sided centre back spot. As regards to Will Dixon, he's a bit of an unknown, isn't he? We can't say we've been watching too much of Manchester City's youth team, but he's described as a versatile forward. So maybe someone who could play across the three
Mm.
attacking positions as well as up front. He's been a consistent goal scorer in the Manchester City youth team. He's had a loan at Motherwell, so it's not his first loan, and I think that's always key. Although it was only 7 appearances, that'll have been to move up to Scotland for a young lad. That's not an easy thing to do. And it's an opportunity for him, isn't it, to gain some more first team experience. So yeah, be interested to see how he gets on. We might see him maybe against Crewe tonight, and in future weeks. So they've got a bit of cover there. Maybe Will Grigg, maybe he's not quite at full fitness yet, and they're thinking maybe one injury, and we're gonna be a little bit short. I think it's worth remembering. I think sometimes on transfer deadline day that if you don't sign anyone or it's not that exciting, it can feel a little bit flat sometimes, and it can feel like it's been a really bad window. But Chesterfield signed 12 new players.
I know.
And I know you can't please everyone, and Chesterfield haven't fixed everything, and you're not going to in one window. They didn't need to go drastically mad either, because let's not forget that they finished 7th last season, and they were only sort of 4 or 5 points off the top 3 anyway. But they signed some really good players, like Stirk, Markandi, Berry, Darcy, Bonis. Like you can't. I don't think you can just sort of say because you didn't get a centre half in that's a really poor window. Like people saying it was really underwhelming, and I don't know. I think you've got to be a little bit more level-headed than that. For example, maybe they could have signed a young left-sided centre back, but maybe it wouldn't have been guaranteed to play. Harvey Arujo, I would have been happy to have him back. He went to Colchester, maybe because Chesterfield couldn't guarantee that he would play every week ahead of Cal McFadzean. Do you know what I mean? So there's all these sorts of things that come into play.
Yeah, I mean, the people are really targeted sort of McFadzean and the fact that he's 38 as well, and they're looking at Jamie Grimes as the cover option for them. But I haven't worked out the squad listings yet. I think it's 22 players, isn't it? I think there's a space available, isn't there, from looking at it? But they can still sign. They've got Ender Stevens still training with the club, so there's the cover until January, until the young Canadian defender comes, isn't there? So
exactly. I mean, that is you made a really good point that teams can still sign free agents, and it won't. They've had Ender Stevens training with them, but it won't just be Ender Stevens. There will be other defenders out there who they can sign.
Yeah.
Obviously, as long as they are free agents. And let's face it, Chesterfield will have been looking. They're always looking. Their recruitment under Paul Kirk is spot on, isn't it? Or 9 out of 10 they seem to get right. So you can only imagine that either the options just weren't better than what they got, they weren't affordable, or they couldn't get someone through the door because they couldn't guarantee that they'd play, or they've had a look at Ender Stevens and they think get a bit more fitness into him. Maybe he's better than what's out there.
Yeah.
But surely at this stage people do trust Paul Cook's judgment and his coaching staff. Like, I do find that he gets questioned, and obviously, you can. You don't say accept everything, but surely he's earned that trust by now.
I think being second in the table says a lot about the scenario, doesn't it? I don't know why the sort of nitpicking really doesn't help in many respects, because Chesterfield are second in the table. If you look at the table, if the season finished now, you'd be promoted. That's exactly what everybody wants. So I don't know. I think it's a little bit too silly to be sort of throwing the sort of toys out the pram right now. With some people have questioned it, haven't they? So like I said, there's free agents that are possible for that. The squad listings will come out at some point. You never know when they do come out. They might come out before the weekend, but yeah, Chesterfield, there's going to be one player anyway going out on loan, isn't there? So that we know so far, a youngster going out. So yeah. Crewe tonight might see a lot of changes. Obviously, some of the players that haven't had a game. There's a reserve game on Thursday against Derby County as well, which they could play other players as well with that. So, but it'll be pretty much a strong team actually going across the Crewe, won't it? You'd have thought.
Yeah, we might see debut for obviously Will Dixon now, new signing. Ryan Boot will probably play in goal, won't he? There'll be
Yeah,
minutes for the likes of Jamie Grimes, probably Liam Mandeville, Adam Lewis.
Shackelford
Um,
maybe.
Probably there'll be Connor Cook. I'm just
Mm,
probably central midfield's probably the one when I think about it because
yeah,
you've got John Flegg. Um, then there's obviously Tom Naylor. He's been playing. Probably not risking Dibbly Diaz. So yeah, they've not got lots of options there, unless they, like I say, it could just be John Fleck, or maybe they'll play someone else in there. But
yeah.
yeah, it'll be a strong team. It'll be a team that they can win the game. Did you say Will Grigg maybe up front?
I'd have thought maybe Lee Bonus. I think would have that one. I'd keep Will
Yeah.
Grigg until Saturday against Walsall. He loves playing against Walsall, isn't it? The club that he started with.
Mm.
He might have something to prove. He was a very angry man, wasn't he, at the final whistle at the Bescot in the second leg semi-final. So maybe he'll want to bag a few goals against the Saddlers on Saturday. So I'd play Lee Bonus with Dixon as the option,
Yeah.
going
James
as
Berry,
reserve.
got some points.
If he's not available, I think Danny Webb alluded to something in the in-house video that Berry might be staying behind with the group
Oh, of course,
to
yes,
do
he
some
did. Yeah,
reaction,
yeah,
but that's not to say that he's not going to be able to come off the bench for 10 minutes or so.
yeah.
Like I
I
say,
think
there is a reserve game on Thursday
mm,
as an option for him.
he did say Devon Tanton would be travelling,
Yeah.
so
Hmm.
that's
Again, that's a
another.
positive. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a good option to have. Yeah, I mean they went quite far in the competition last year with a team that was sort of a bit mixed of players coming back from injury, youngsters, and uh, and players who'd maybe not had as many minutes. So yeah, Crewe away, isn't it? And then there's Burton Albion at home and Liverpool's under 21s. Be nice if they could maybe strike up a bit of relationship with Liverpool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It makes you wonder. They played Man City last season, and now they've managed to get Will Dixon.
Mm.
So and they've obviously already got a good relationship with Fulham. So if they could get a strike up a good relationship with Liverpool, we might see one or two of their youngsters come in the next few years as well.
And they certainly have with Everton as well, hasn't they?
Mm.
So it's just a shame that Luke Butterfield. This would be the ideal game for him to
Mm.
make a start and impress, wouldn't it? So it's a shame that he's out, especially Gunnar Elliott out as well. I understand he was scheduled to start
Mm.
the games in the EFL Trophy, so it's such a shame for him as well going forward. And he'll miss his Malta appearances, and with our best wishes, hopefully he gets fit and back and ready soon because he's a real talent going forward. So Walsall. This will
Mm.
be what we're looking at, the third time we're going to Bescot Stadium on Saturday, Liam, and
Since
the
February, I
fourth
think, is
since
it?
February, yeah, and the
Yeah.
fourth time that Chesterfield would have played them this year, and they haven't beaten them in any single game
Mm.
so far. Are they a bogey side?
Well, we keep talking about Chesterfield bettering their results from last season and ticking boxes. Went to Cheltenham and won, and talked about maybe how they might not have beaten certain teams at home last season. They would have drawn them, and this time they've won them. Gone to Harrogate, won't beat them for the first time. But yeah, this is probably the biggest test of the season so far. Walsall away. I think we were all wondering what sort of start to the season they would have after losing the playoff final. But they've got off to a more than steady start, a good start. Um, yeah, they are the team that, or the style of play, isn't it, that Chesterfield do have more problems against than others. Like I say, I praised Crawley because they came and tried to win the
Yeah,
game. Um, but at the same time, you want teams to do that because Chesterfield are at their best when teams do that because they can pick teams off and they can open them up. Whereas Walsall, we've seen enough of them, haven't we? Now we know what they're all about, even if they are going to be quite much changed from last season. Obviously, Ryan Stirk is now a Spireites, so he'll be playing his former club. It'd be interesting to see what sort of reception he gets. But I imagine the makeup that of Walsall, the style of Walsall will still be very much the same in terms of probably 30% possession. They'll be very solid behind the ball. They'll run forward, they'll play forward, good on the counter attack, strong from set pieces. Let's see, have Chesterfield again? Have they learned any lessons from last season? Have they got more in their armoury this time to cause Walsall problems? Because over those 2 legs, Chesterfield didn't really lay a glove on them, did they?
It was hard work, wasn't it, to try and conjure up something from the bench, wasn't it, from Paul Cook's point of view? He'd just about thrown all his eggs in one basket going forward with that at that time, and yeah, they didn't really have enough to that game. But now Chesterfield have virtually a full strength squad, barring the odd one or two, and certainly some of the better players are available as well. So this will be an interesting encounter. It's going to be different, I feel, than to the 3 previous ones we've seen this year alone. When Walsall came to the SMH last season, that was a great game. That was 2-2. Both sides went for it with it, and it was a real good encounter, wasn't it? And they had Nathan Lowe on that occasion. They haven't got him now, and they haven't got Taylor Allen now either. So he's gone to Wycombe.
No, there's obviously Sturk. I think
Yeah,
Gordon went, didn't he?
yeah,
Left back. They had the right back or the right wing back.
yeah.
He's now on loan at Wimbledon.
There's no Manchee to score that. No Manchee to score that final goal anymore.
Yeah,
So,
so yeah, they are quite much changed, but yeah, like I said, I still think that the style and the makeup of the Walsall team will still be the same.
yeah, they're hard to break down at the best, aren't they? So Chesterfield need to be at the best, and like I say, that I feel that Chesterfield got a better side going there this time than they did on the 2 previous occasions they've gone this year. In my opinion, I'm sure you'll agree there with that. So
They're gonna
all
they're gonna have
options.
to they're gonna have to come up with something different though, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Whether it not necessarily not going to change formation or play straight too far away from their possession-based style of football. But we have seen Chesterfield go longer this season
Mm.
and play in opposition's half after going longer. So we didn't really see that, I don't think, from memory in the 2 legs. So maybe that could be a tactic for Chesterfield, is that they will go longer with Lee Bonnis maybe stretching that Walsall defence and then maybe playing for the second balls and playing a bit more in Walsall's half. Because we have seen that at Cheltenham, at Harrogate, and even last week against Crawley, Chesterfield weren't afraid to sort of mix it up and go longer at times. So, yeah, they definitely need to try and do something a little bit different and have that surprise element, because I think Walsall they've got Chesterfield's number at the minute, haven't they? They know how
Yeah.
to play against them.
Indeed, they will. I'm going to go Will Grigg scoring on Saturday, I think. So that's my little tip. If he start, I'm sure he'll start as well, because he's didn't come on to the back end of the game on Saturday. I don't think he'll be involved tonight, but we shall see. So thank you very much. This is the good half an hour. Yeah, sorry we didn't have an episode last week, but I'm sure you understand the reasons why we didn't. And God bless the Kirk family as well, and hopefully they can take some solace of the fantastic reception and tributes that have been made to Phil Kirk, and hopefully that gives them, like I say, the family some solace going forward. So, anything quickly to add, Liam, at all?
Book your tickets for Wembley because the EFL trophy is coming home.
Good one. Yeah, we'll have some of that, like a day out at Wembley again. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? So with no pressure, we're a day out at Wembley with no pressure at all. That's lovely. That he just wants some of that. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon. Please remember to like and subscribe. Tell your friends that we have a half hour chat about Chesterfield, all things Chesterfield, usually post game, a bit of a reflection on what's happened, and yeah, like and subscribe it, and we shall see you next week, next Monday after the Walsall victory, fingers crossed. So let's go for it.